day. Welcome to Lean Into Love Now. I'm your host, David Baines. Welcome back for those that have watched my previous videos, and for those that have joining for the first time, I hope you enjoy it. As I said, my name is David Baines. This next episode is a continuation on the last episode I did, so if you want to check that out, it'd be episode number 3. This is part 2 of it. It's called The Evolution of Religion, finding a higher love beyond dogma. I'm just getting started out, so this is the 4th video. I do have a piece of paper in my hand, because I do write out these episodes and then I speak them to this mode. Because again, some people like to read, some people like to visualize in terms of their forms of learning and taking information. So in our last discussion, I explored how God does not really have a specific agenda for humans in terms of our actions and what we should do. And this sort of raised an important question, when it comes to religions, and this is all religions across planet Earth, is, what is a relevancy today, in our modern times. And those, and so it really brings up thoughts of, for those that are hoping that religions will just vanish, whether you're an atheist or someone that just, feels like religions are not have zero use today. I really think don't hold your breath. They're going to be around for some time. Likewise, those that feel that, religions are there for the, they're going to be the savior that's going to really bring people back into a line of where we should be. I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I think really there's a middle ground there that we need to look at. And really, I think it really comes down to our imagination, the imagination of the human mind, and what can we imagine when we look towards the future. So just take a moment right now and just look around, look around the room that you're in right now watching this video. All the things that have been created, whether you have a TV in your room, or there's a computer screen, or a table, or a bed, or whatever it may be. It all came from somebody's idea. It all came from the imagination that somebody said, oh, I want to create this. Now, obviously, things don't get just created out of thin air. A lot of them have been progressions, First, we had to have electricity before we could have the electric car, as an example. And so all these different sort of ideas, we're always imagining and creating ideas of something new to bring forth onto our planet. And so, this is what really sort of excites me. And, when you look at, all the materials that have, were used to make all this stuff that's in our society, it all came from, on the earth or inside the earth. Really the earth, our planet Earth, is the first store. It's the original store. It's the original mall where we get everything from. Now, throughout history, when it comes to religions, there's been thousands of perspectives, all these iterations and viewpoints, spiritual viewpoints, where you have some massive religions and you have some very small religions, but each one of those particular groups has a particular perspective. So the question is one of them true? Could one of them be the ultimate truth? Or are they all wrong? But I would argue no, that they're not, there is no one truth, nor do I agree that they're all wrong either, because, religions still have value. They provide crucial narratives for people, and have from the beginning time, as I sort of said in my last video, that they're there to support people in their lives, to provide answers for their existence. Now, religious institutions, they do serve important functions. The actual institutions themselves, the churches, the mosques, the temples, the spiritual spaces where people come together. It's there for, they're gathering places to create community, offer support systems, provide spaces for connection. And so they do hold value. Yet in our increasingly multicultural world, there's a growing number of people that are becoming aware that these religious stories are really just human-created myths. Each religion's, really emerged from just one or two people or a few people that had an idea or had a vision, and then, based on their, and it came from their imagination, and based on their conviction, people started following it, and depending on the vigor of their believers, it would spread from there. And as I said earlier, some got huge and some just remained as a small group. But all of them were very feeling of their specific story that they were following. So how can religions remain relevant today? Religious stories hold power because people believe in them. Whether they're objectively true is irrelevant. It's just the fact that people believe in them. The challenge now, for religious leaders and followers is, can they evolve their narratives to promote universal love and kindness, regardless of what religion you're affiliated to. So, in other words, a lot of times if you're belonging to a religion, even though you may say, I'm accepting these other faiths, and obviously in our democratic society, we, freedom of religion is one of the tenets. That being said, within an individual's person who is of religious faith, whether they say it, outwardly or not, deep down, their religion is superior to the other. I can't see it other way. I'm open for people to say that to be otherwise, but the whole notion is of believing in a particular faith is to say this is the faith, this is the truth, not just for me, but for everyone. So here's my proposal. Religious leaders are going to have to embrace humility and really release their spiritual, basically the mindset is become segregated. And what I mean by that sort of segregated mindset is that, religion or religious idea or thought, again, coming from the imagination, is all contained in the mind. There's no such thing to me as a Jewish elbow or an Muslim kneecap or a Christian breast or a Hindu finger. All of these religions, even though someone will say I'm Hindu, I'm Jewish, I'm Christian, I'm whatever the religion may be, really what they're saying is that's the story I contain in my head. It's not, their body is not that. Though I know a religious person will probably argue that, which I'm totally open with that, but this is how I see it. And really that brings into the sort of the fixed mindset, growth mindset that Carol Dweck, she's a professor from Stanford University, sort of talked about. Now, she didn't talk about religion. She's talking more in the educational background, but I like to apply it to religious thought in terms of those that are really confined to that one particular religion. It's a bit of a fixed mindset in the sense that you see your faith, if we're using the metaphor as a tree, that your faith is the whole tree. This is the truth, the whole tree, the whole truth, where really you're just a branch on the tree itself. And so the perception when you, and again, this is not, again, how to say this, I love all human beings. This is why I started the Lean Into Love Now podcast and videos and writing about it, is that it's the mindset I'm really challenged. And again, people are people. There's human beings, and that's what I love. The mindset of religion, yes, I'm challenged by that in the sense that there are many different ways to look at things, and when you have that sort of fixed mindset around religion, it prevents you from seeing beyond that. Now, a growth mindset would recognize that, our spiritual and emotional growth extends beyond any single religious paradigm. In other words, you can still be a person that is kind and loving without having a religion. Likewise, you can still be kind and loving within the religion, but it's not predicated on being religious or being affiliated with a particular institution. And I really want everyone just to consider our shared origin. We all entered this world through our mother's womb, and her mother entered this world through her mother's womb. And there's an sort of broken chain that stretches all the way back to the first mother, the first woman on the planet. And, the ultimate source of this first mother, to me, is a mystery. Whether you call it God, source, universe, what have you, it's still a mystery. No one knows, because I wasn't there, and it's so far back. It's merely, we're creating a story if we want to say, yes, this is the way it is. So for me, religions to remain relevant, I've sort of come up with three things, and these are what the leaders must do. They must release dogmatic perspectives, these perspectives that this is the way it is. This is the way you need to act. This is the way you need to be. Unless it's like we need to be loving and kind to each other, I would say that's pretty good. But even that, people need to come from a place of within their heart, within their being, not because they're told to do so. And so let go of the dogmatic, perspectives. And again, what I just said, acknowledge the mystery of this existence, that no one really knows where we are here. Acknowledging that and accepting that we do have capacities, and obviously there's physical properties that we have to abide by. But go within those truths. Don't make up the stories and go with the stories and say this is the way it is, even though it's just a story. And then let go of claims that these leaders have spiritual, have special divine powers to interpret what this authority figure wants us to do and wants us to be and wants us to act like. Because every human, seeks authentic love and wants to, have that love grow throughout their lifetime. Now, obviously, many people struggle with that. Many people have shut down their hearts from their experiences, and I'm not here to judge them because, as I always say, unless you've walked in a person's shoes for some time, you're not going to know their life. And so I don't know what anyone's life is, but everyone has been touched by love at some point in their life, and why not want to grow that more? So personally, I've found that while it's easy to harbor negative feelings towards others, if I look at my past, things that people have done to me, and find that challenging, and even actions today that people are doing that I totally oppose. I choose love. I choose to love that human being and the human potential in that person itself, because that's actually what allows me to feel that sense of calm, a sense of sleep at night, in a calm sense of being, really eliminates the stress, and I think it's essential for my well-being, and I would even say, if I may, essential for humanity's well-being. So, and again, religious traditions have always preached love and kindness, but to remain relevant, they now must focus solely on these universal principles. They must let go of the dogma, the rituals that don't serve this loving ideal. Like, this should be the sermon. This should be the narrative every single time people enter those institutions, those places of worship. Talk about love and kindness towards their fellow human being. This should be what our motivation should be. Is this an agenda coming from a higher power? No. I just think as a human being on this planet, I would love to see this as our main agenda. But again, not because I'm telling you or anyone else, because again, I'm just one person that's preaching the message of love on this planet, but because it comes from your heart. You feel it. But again, it's something, working on a daily basis. I wasn't always this way. I've had to work on it. And so it's something that we can do with our imaginations, as I spoke with earlier. So will it be challenging for religious leaders, to change their perception around their institutions and really start to focus on this? Absolutely. Is it possible? Definitely. It just simply requires belief in the power of love. So I want to say thank you again for listening. I know, these ideals of love and the challenges of loving others can be difficult. But again, something you can practically do every day. As I've said it before, is just, love yourself. Look in your mirror and say, I love me. I love this existence. I belong. I accept myself as I am. And even if you may not believe it or fully believe it at that time, working on that and then working with others as well, and just accepting that, we're all here on this planet at this time. We came from our mother's womb. We all have our imaginations, but let's activate those imaginations to really create a beautiful, loving, kind, connected place. Let's all be, part of this bridge building to bring back humanity from our separateness, our, this notion that we're all separate or that we're competing against each other. Let's be bridge builders. So again, thank you again. If you enjoyed the episode, you can point the button below, subscribe to that. You can also check out the website, leanintolovenow.com, where I also have these written blogs I put up as well for those that like to read in that format. Thank you a lot.